What is up, everybody, and welcome to another video here on Dota Alchemy. Thank you for tuning in. This one is going to be the carry tier list for the current patch and the current meta. You guys have been asking for it in the comment section below, so here you go. And this one is going to be special because it's sponsored by ProGuides.com, which is an awesome learning platform for esports and competitive gamers. They've been dominating the game in League of Legends, Fortnite, Smash, and various other esports titles, and they wanted to take the jump into Dota 2. So they brought on myself to teach some live classes on their platform. They, I believe, are also working with Jenkins and a few other coaches and players. So hope you guys check out the link in the description below. Head over to Pro Guides, check it out. Check out the live class that I'm teaching today, which is going to be on how to lane as a carry. Very appropriate for this video. And we're going to be studying Arteezy on 3 different heroes. I'm really excited to check out these replays live with you on ProGuides.com. And thanks once again to them for sponsoring this video. We're going to be getting right into the carry tier list. As you can see in front of us right now, we have our list up here. And like our last video on the tier list, we're going to be kind of just going over the top tier heroes and kind of giving a little bit of explanation about the lower tier ones. As you can see, probably some of you really like the heroes that are in the D tier, like Medusa, PA, Drow, etc. But these heroes, you really just shouldn't pick them. And the reason for that is because the meta is a specific tempo of play. And I honestly think that even if you're in like 1K, 2K, 3K, and the game is kind of slow and people are sitting on the other side of the map and they're just farming, there's no vision and nobody's really making plays, I still think that if you pick up one of these A or S tier heroes, you have a much better chance of winning the game than if you're picking some Terrorblade, some Wraith King, some Sven, some Phantom Assassin, because these heroes are just better. We're going to talk about Lycan first. This hero's been at the top of the tier list for a long time, and the reason is that he's just broken. He's the fastest pusher in the game. He's also one of the fastest farming heroes in the game. You don't have to buy boots, you buy Necrobook, you buy Helmet Dominator, you win the game. Like, this hero ends the game at 20-25 minutes, and he's been doing that pretty much forever. What makes this hero so good is that he's hard to bully out of the lane because he's better at last hitting than most heroes, thanks to his wolves. The new Howl is really, really good at killing people, taking trades early on. And then, of course, he can sustain against very harassed heavy lanes with Feral Impulse. He's also just one of the best junglers because of these wolves, because you can just rush the Necrobook and then quickly farm. And he has a very specific kind of timing-based playstyle where you basically just get your 2 items, you have your ult, you take a tower, your ult is on cooldown, you go hit creeps for whatever, 90 seconds, whatever level it is, 125, 110, 95, and then you do it again. This hero takes Rosh better than most heroes in the game, and since Roshan is the key to going high ground, it's pretty important to be able to do that. And really, there aren't a whole lot of counters to Lycan, because even if you're picking these, Winter Wyvern or Wave Clear heroes, Earthshaker, most of the time he just out-tempos them, and if you have even a little bit of micro skills, you can just kind of keep your hero to one side, keep your units on the other side, and then just wrap around to any fight, thanks to the ability to just run faster than everybody. And it's pretty easy to avoid any sort of disable and target the right heroes. This hero, it's basically all about targeting the right heroes and playing around your power spikes, which happen earlier than pretty much any carry in the game. I honestly believe that if you master Lycan and you're in 1 or 2K, you should probably win every single game that you play. The next S tier hero is Ember Spirit, and this hero has also been at the top tier for a long time. He's one of the most picked, one of the most banned heroes in the pro scene, and it's insanely versatile. You can run it in the mid lane, you can run it in the safe lane. What else really needs to be said about Ember that hasn't already been said in a previous tier list video? The item build is versatile. People go for Desto, people go for Spirit Vessel, people go for Yules, people go for Battle Fury, Mjolnir. Doesn't really matter. Like, whatever the game needs, you can build it on Ember Spirit, and he can get aggressive early on. The Sleight of Fist build seems to be the strongest at the moment, but if you need to go for more disable, if you need to go for more kind of sustained DOT, you can go for the Flame Guard build, and then his just insane survivability, mobility across the map and in team fights is just a little too strong for most people to deal with. Lone Druid is our final S tier hero, and this one is definitely, this is like a pub stomp hero. It's also a pro stomp hero too, as we've seen Secret win nearly every game that they pick this hero with Matumba Man. You can run it mid, you can run it safe, you could even probably run it off lane if you wanted to. Lone Druid's probably the best laning carry in the game, thanks to the bear. And he's almost kind of turned into this like Timbersaw DK hero, where once you hit true form, you know, they changed this so it's not like a permanent transformation, but 40-second duration makes it feel like essentially a permanent transformation, because it's going to last for basically an entire team fight. And it just makes him so tanky. The bonus armor, the bonus HP, and the fact that he like gets roots too. It's just kind of not fair. I think in, again, these lower tier games like 1K through 3K through even 4K, I mean, hell, this even happens in Divine and Immortal games. If you don't pick up a Spirit Vessel and you're trying to kill a Lone Druid, you basically can't. He's just going to sit there. He's going to tank all of the damage. His team is going to come in, reinforce him, and thanks to how insanely strong the bear is these days and the shared lifesteal, he can almost 1v5 at like 20 to 25 minutes into the game. He also is one of the best tower pushers in the game and can farm with relative safety, which is not something that a lot of these other A tier heroes can do, because the Druid himself can kind of sit in the trees while the bear gets the last hits. And thanks to Savage Roar, he's got a very good disengage tactic. So let's move on to A tier, and I have A tier split into two different types, because I would say that these are the real A tier heroes in the current patch, and these ones are the ones that are probably more like B tier heroes in the current patch, but they're A tier heroes if you want to pick them in pubs and go late, because a lot of pubs will go later than they're supposed to. So let's start with the A tier heroes as I see them. These are the ones that the pros really like. These are the ones that pros are winning pubs with. These are the ones that pros are winning pro games with. And then we'll talk about the late game heroes that I think will work in pubs at whatever MMR bracket you might be in. So Luna is on the rise. Everybody that I've seen playing it basically is going the Helm of Dominator build. So it's like Treads, Helm of Dominator, into Manta, BKB, and then general Luna items. She is quite strong at trading in the lane with the right laning partner, thanks to Lunar Blessing. The bonus damage and armor is very nice. Arteezy in particular has been maxing out Lucent Beam and playing very aggressively with this hero. And then, of course, going into Moonglaves to farm. The Helm of Dominator gives her that nice kind of one item, plus the utility of maybe a Centaur Conqueror to stomp people, which is something that Luna really lacks, is like disable, or if you can go for an Alpha Wolf and kind of stack your damage, you could also potentially turn this hero into like a mid-game timing hero that just shoves down towers and clears waves super fast as well. The next hero is Ursa. This hero's been kind of up there in the tier list for a long time, and I think it's with good reason. We're in a very fight-heavy meta, and this is potentially the best, one of the best fighting heroes in the game. Most people tend to be going for Fury Swipes and Earthshock, completely skipping Overpower until these are leveled up pretty significantly. Sometimes they'll take only a couple points in Earthshock, but you don't really need Overpower to get kills in the lanes. You just have the slow and the building damage from Fury Swipes, plus Orb of Venom. Again, Roche potential, very good. The one thing that Ursa does lack more than any of the other carries in this list is wave clear and the ability to hit buildings. So this hero is definitely a snowballing carry. He's an aggressive carry. You want to pick this if you have some greedy mid, or you don't know what the mid is going to be, or the other team has some very slow-paced carry, like, I don't know, maybe a Spectre, and you want to end the game quickly and snowball off of kills. Ursa's very good at doing that. The next A tier hero is Morphling, and this is a hero that I will say with a caveat. If you are a good Morphling player, this is an A or S tier hero all the time. It's just too high skill cap. It's kind of like Ember Spirit, where even if they were to take all of these numbers and cut them in half, you'd still have people picking this, because the skill cap of this hero, the versatility of it, is way too high. And that's just very similar with Morphling. Like, if you are a excellent Morphling player, you can just play this hero in any game. You know, there are counters to it. Spirit Vessel is very annoying to deal with. Troll is a hero that deals with Morphling pretty well. But even so, like if you are a good Morphling player, you can deal with the counters as well. Slark, another A-tier hero, at least in pubs. I'm not seeing it as much in pro scene these days, but I think that for a pub stomping hero, Slark is about as good as it gets, because, you know, he just wants to fight. You know, the days of Slark farming his Shadow Blade and farming several items in the jungle are long gone. You just get a Diffusal Blade, you get a couple stat items, you run around killing people, and even so, you still have the ability to scale into the late game, because this hero farms stacks pretty well, he farms waves pretty well, and he farms heroes. So all the pieces are there for you to take a hero and just kind of win the laning stage, then win the mid game, then win the late game, depending on how many times your team throws and extends the game as a result. The one thing that this hero kind of lacks is Roche taking potential, but if you take a good fight around the Roche pit, then you take those agility stacks from Essence Shift, you can pretty much easily take the Roche and just continue to snowball the game from there. This hero farms heroes, he doesn't farm creeps very much. Most people are just going for a couple Wraith Bands, Treads, Wand, Diffusal Blade, and then I have seen people going back for a Battle Fury if you're against an illusion-based hero or more of a late game carry. But Riki is definitely one of those heroes that you want to just get your power peak, start fighting, keep fighting, never stop fighting, and just snowball the game like that. This hero is designed to make the enemy team fear farming. He's actually quite good in the lanes with very high base damage and high regen and high armor. And then, of course, has insane elusivity, which, you know, like a Morphling, like an Ember Spirit, like a Slark, makes him very hard to deal with in these mid-game team fights. So I think that Riki is another one of those heroes that you can definitely just stomp pubs. Maybe pros will deal with it a little bit better, but he's still being picked up in a lot of pro games just because he works really well with Grimstroke and just in the very fight-heavy, fast-paced meta that we currently exist in. Moving on to the A-tier late game, and like I said, these heroes probably are more of like B-tier carries. Some of them, a lot of them are being picked in the pro scene, and the reason for that is because when you have this early game fight-heavy meta, a lot of teams are very all-in on that, and so, you know, they're picking like nothing but early game heroes. So if you can just kind of weather the storm and get to 25-30 minutes, then if you have a late game core, you kind of just win because you outscale them. However, a lot of these heroes are just better at doing it than, let's say, you know, a late game hero like Medusa or Terrorblade. So Naga Siren, I think, again, this is kind of one of those heroes where if you have mastered Naga Siren and you're 2 or 3k, you should just win every single game. This hero is very hard to bully out of lane, very good at laning, very good against the elusive heroes that are popular on this list. You know, Net owns heroes like Riki, Void Spirit, Ember Spirit, Faceless Void, etc. Overwhelming physical damage and the ability to just completely tempo control the game with your illusions. You can usually just kind of avoid fights and then eventually run over the game at 30 minutes or so with 3 or 4 items. I can't even tell you how many times a last pick Naga has just ruined the game because there's no wave clear for the illusions, and at that point it's kind of just over as long as the Naga player doesn't completely throw. So definitely a very good hero if you like to play carry and more slow paced, and thankfully for those players, pubs tend to be a little bit more slow paced than the pro scene does. Spectre, another hero that thrives in these slower paced games. You know, again, one of the best late game heroes in Dota and always has been. Has the ability to contribute in early team fights if it looks really good, but for the most part, you're just picking up your farming items, you're scaling to, you know, level 20, and then trying to win the game at 30 plus minutes with your overwhelming spread damage and tankiness. I think that Spectre is probably, if we look at this, the most abusable in the early game out of any of these, but still seeing quite a bit of success. People are going for like Soul Ring or Necrobook level 1 to farm, and then going for just standard Spectre build, Radiance, Abyssal Blade, Mantis Style, etc., whatever the game calls for. Phantom Lancer, this hero actually has one of the lower win rates in the pro scene and in high level pubs, but I think it completely dominates lower level pubs, at least from what I've seen. You just avoid fights, you get Manta Diffusal, Heart, Abyssal Blade, whatever it is. And similarly, Faceless Void is kind of the same thing. He's not the strongest laner, He's not the weakest laner. He's just going to exist until he gets to the point where he has 3 or 4 items, and then he's just going to win the game because you have Chronosphere and you just do an insane amount of damage and are super hard to kill. You'll notice that all 4 of these heroes actually are super hard to kill and kind of just 1v5 once they hit, 4 or 5 items. There are 3 other heroes that I wanted to specifically highlight before I just kind of like run through why these are C and D tier heroes, which are Dragon Knight, Queen of Pain, and Nature's Prophet. These 3 heroes are probably S tier heroes, just in a general sense. We're seeing them picked in like every pro game or banned, basically. Nature's Prophet 1, Nature's Prophet 2, Nature's Prophet 4, Nature's Prophet 3, Nature's Prophet 5, all are viable. The majority of them are being played carry, it seems like these days, with a bit of offlane as well, but this hero is just super up-tempo, pushes the towers very early, can't really be outlaned. He's just a very, very strong laner. And then he also scales very well and has this global presence that's super hard to play against with this fight-heavy meta. Chances are if you pick it in your 2K pub as a carry, you'll get reported and your team will tilt and throw the game. So that's why it's a B tier hero here. But I would say that it's technically like an S tier hero. So I just wanted to kind of explain that. Same thing with Queen of Pain. Arteezy's been playing this in the safe lane. But if you pick Queen of Pain safe lane, your team's probably going to tilt, throw, and report you. Still, it's an S tier hero. It's going to win you the game if you're really good at Queen of Pain. Arguably the most reliable first pick core that you can have, because again, you can also still flex it to a 4, a 3, a 2, or the 1. Does insane damage, insane mobility, really good wave push, super versatile item builds, and has a strong timing pretty much from the laning stage until the late game with one of the best talents in Dota of the Scream of Pain Fear. And finally, Dragon Knight, this hero, historically been a mid who just kind of sustains and beats heroes like Puck and Queen of Pain with Dragon's Blood. But now that we're seeing these very aggressive off lanes and the laning stage is so important, we're also seeing him kind of put into the safe lane a lot because he, like a Lycan or like a lone Druid, doesn't really lose the lane. He just kind of exists, gets his farm, and then he just pushes towers. And that is very, very good in the current meta. DK also scales quite well. His Aghanim Scepter is super good. He's got one of the better stuns in the game against these elusive heroes that are popular. If you pick safe lane DK in your pubs, you're probably going to get reported in the lower levels just because people don't really understand what's going on. But I think the hero is insanely good in the meta as it currently stands. Let's talk briefly about the rest of these heroes. The rest of the B tier is heroes that are like pretty good at fighting. A lot of them, depending on the game, could move up to the A tier. They all tend to be fairly up-tempo. They want to fight a lot. They want to fight early, push towers early. They have decent farming potential, pretty good fighting potential, but aren't quite as good or as versatile as the A or B tier heroes, or the A or S tier heroes, rather. And then when we look at C or D tier, we see a lot of kind of slower-paced heroes. A lot of heroes that don't farm very well, or they do farm very well, but they don't really do anything other than farm until like 30 minutes into the game. And I know that you're probably like, hey, what about the Naga, Spectre, PL, and Void? Well, I would take any of these 4 over any of these heroes. Alchemist, he has his place, maybe could be a B tier because he just farms faster than everybody else, but at the same time, you're kind of just resigning yourself to losing 2 or 3 lanes if you pick an Alchemist. Same thing with like Wraith King, no aggressive potential early. You're farming for your phase boost Radiance and you're kind of just AFK. PA, again, like, yeah, you can go for Desolator into BKB Rapier, but if you can't get those 3 items, you probably just lose. And I will give one final shout out to Anti-Mage. Kind of same thing. This hero is not the worst hero in the game, but I'd rather just have anybody in the S or A tier because you can end the game before Anti-Mage does anything. And that's pretty much why he's always going to be towards the bottom end of these tier lists unless they significantly change and buff him in the early game. So that's our tier list for the carry role. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and we will see you in another video very soon.